Hey everyone, this is Victoria Baylor, one half of the duo from the Tailor and the Dressmaker show. I am the dressmaker. Of course, Mr. Jim, Gentleman Jim, is the master tailor. He is not here tonight. We are filming in my studio. He sends his love to everybody. We just had a little bit of a mix-up on our scheduling today. My fault. Anyhow, so tonight we're going to cover something that is near and dear to my heart, and I guess something that I've had to deal with recently. So I thought, hey, why not chit chat about it? We'll talk a little bit about something I think we've talked about on and off throughout the show, but I want to make it relative to what I've had going on. So we'll kind of discuss a little bit about time management and time efficiency when you're doing a big project. So most of you might already know I am sewing for the Charlotte Ballet, and I am doing costumes for the upcoming Nutcracker performance, which is really awesome. I'm excited about that. This is my second year at it, which is great. I did Kansas City Ballets, some of their Nutcracker costumes. I posted about it on my blog. I'm actually going to blog about my recent trip to Charlotte to do fittings with ballerinas, which was really, really cool. But tonight's show, I just want to kind of give some pointers on how to be really time efficient and how to manage, I guess, your time when you're doing a big project. So I had a lot of stuff going on in my schedule, and I needed to dress 8 little ballerinas, potentially 16. They always have like a cast A, cast B. But anyway, so I needed to make 8 costumes, cute little costumes. I will show you them at the end. Of course, I can't. I'm sworn to silence and secrecy now. But I had to make 8 little cute, kind of almost culotte looking wide leg pants, kind of little Asian feel to them. So, might not seem like it's a big deal, right? Well, not really, but I had to do it in a very limited amount of time. I've been doing some wedding sewing. So all in all, I had to get this task done, get these pants cut out, and get them sewn together. And the caveat is, in costuming and kind of like in ballet, you don't just make a costume with just one layer. It usually has 2 layers. So in this case, I made satin pants. So I used the dull side of the satin. And then they were, what is the terminology? We always say underline in dressmaking, but they are called, just escape me. I can't remember. It'll come back to me. Anyway, they have to be lined on the inside with a cotton poly blend kind of fabric. So in I think true essence, I was technically cutting out 16 pair of pants and then just attaching, you know, the lining to the satin, hence my 8. But might not sound like a lot. Anyway, so think about it this way. There's 4 pieces of pants. Whenever you cut, there are 4 pieces to a pant. There's your fronts, first 2 on each leg. There's your backs. So that's 4 pieces per pant. So 4 times 8 girls is 32. Plus I had to double that, so that's 64. So at any given time, or while I was done, I had 64 of these little pieces running around. So essentially, I think what I want to get at is it's very important to be organized, manage your time, and to be very efficient in your processes when you're trying to get a project done quickly, as I did the other night shortly before I had to leave. So I had gotten a lot of the other projects. I had some other costume stuff to get done, and the pants I left for last because I knew it would take the longest. But I managed to cut them all out, I think like within less than 2 hours, really, really fast. And I just want to talk about how I did that. So long story short, it is important to, whenever you're going to start any project, I mean, obviously no brainer, you want to have everything that you need with you, near you. So for me, I always kind of have like a little basket of all my goodies and all my little, like, you know, notions and important stuff I might need. Razor blades, pens, pencils, marking pencils, chalks. Everything is always like within a little reach. I don't know. I don't know who I got this from. It's kind of cute little basket. And then I even have like the heavy duty cases in case I have to pull out the big guns for anything. So to cut out the pants was pretty simple. It was just a normal satin. I do not like satin personally, no offense. I only like satin usually when it has stretch in it, but in this case it's really, really cute, and we're using the dull side of satin. I don't tend to like the sheen. That's neither here nor there. I needed to cut out, 32 legs, pants legs. So to do that efficiently, I did have really wide fabric, which was great, and I opted, because I had a lot of alterations to make, I opted to use brown paper for my pattern. So unlike using like a real flimsy tissue paper, this was a lot more sturdy. This sat laid down easily. I didn't worry about like the edges curling up or anything weird happening. And I just used my nifty pattern weights. So for me, that is always canned goods, expired ones. And I just essentially laid out my fabric on my, mind you can see I have a rotary cutting table. And I laid out my fabric, put my 2 patterns side by side, made sure everything was on grain, measured really quick, plop down my pattern weights, bloop bloop, and just cut it out. And I cut out with a rotary, which is probably one of the quickest ways to cut out anything. I swear, I was lightning fast. And technically, I probably could have doubled up even with the satin and cut out 4 pair. 2 pair at one time. So on one side, 60-inch wide fabric, front and back leg, 2 fronts, 2 backs, and if I had doubled that, I would have got 2 pair of pants out. But I was moving so fast with this, I just cut them out in single layer, which is completely fine. So that's one way to definitely speed up the process, is always think about what type of cutting utensil you're going to use. I knew that for me, the classic scissor would not have been efficient enough because I would have to do this motion non-stop, and then I have to get around the pants, and then I would have to cut and do all the corner. For me, this was zoop, 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 fast, like lightning fast. And then I went in, instead of using a normal scissor, with like a micro tip to notch anything that needed to be notched. Just a pair of pants, so I don't think I really had to pinpoint anything, but I did notch like just a few spots. And I ended up making some adjustments to the pants, so I notched where I made the adjustments. So cutting accoutrements, you want to make sure those are phenomenal. Second of all, once I was done with all the satin, to keep myself organized, I learned a little trick that I love. I have fallen in love with giant safety pins. We used a ton of them in my first costuming experience. We actually have a giant bin of these things. I think they were like $40. It was expensive. Anyway, I inherited them from the last project, but I am putting them to great use. These are awesome. You can clip anything together, not only just your material that you're working with, but I do it with patterns. Here's my 4 pattern pieces. Let's pretend. Front and back leg, and then lining, the shaded ones. Front and back leg. 4 pieces. So after I'm skipping it a little bit. I'll talk about the lining and how I cut that out. But you just kind of clip them together. Put your pin in, bloop, everything's together. So you can keep all your pants legs from getting mixed up. Really, really great. Okay, so I talked about cutting out the satin. Then I cut out the, oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember the term. Forgive me. We don't interline. It's going to drive me bonkers. I'm going to have to remember that terminology. Anyway, so we did cut out the lining for the inside of the pants. Remember, dancer sweat is important for them to have something that's kind of a cotton blend so they can absorb the sweat and, keep the integrity of the costume and keep the costume from getting messed up, because it will be laundered a lot. So anyway, I use the cotton poly blend in really pretty orange. I don't have it. What ended up being amazing is this. So for the pants leg, I took 8 yards of fabric, a little bit over that, to cut all those out. For the lining fabric, the cotton actually was a lot narrower, so I unfortunately could only cut out one at a time. So I think I used like 14 yards of fabric, and that could have got insane. That could have got crazy, and I thought I would have to iron it. Now, mind you, I have oh, it's hot. I didn't expect. I didn't know it was on. I have an exceptional iron. I don't know if you can see this in the picture. I have a really good one, expensive one. It's a steam generating kind of iron, the gravity feed. Really awesome. I still did not look forward to ironing 14 yards of fabric. So fast forward, I made the best choice in buying, I think it's a Symphony at it's a broadcloth, I believe, at Joann's. Poly cotton blend, majority polyester. Turns out you throw it in the dryer and just take it out and brush it with your hand, wrinkles disappear. So it was awesome. I actually didn't even have to press all the yardage of that lining fabric, which is awesome. Oh, and I just remember the terminology. Lining attached in costuming is called flat lining. When you attach the lining to the face of the actual garment or the back side of the garment and you sew it together as one, that's called flat lining. That's what I was trying to remember for you guys. But my point is this, it's really smart. I didn't know that, but thank God that I did buy the right kind of lining because that made all the difference. Ironing 14 yards of fabric would have definitely took a chunk of time. So I always think about even like the inner workings of the garment. How can you cut down on time with that? Most people use a polyester lining. If you decide to go all cotton, just think about the repercussions of that. You will do a lot of ironing to straighten that. But if you do shortcut with a cotton poly blend, it's amazing. I learned firsthand that you can actually hand iron something. Put it in a dryer 30 minutes on super high heat. Remember to wash it beforehand to shrink it, which is what I did twice. Hot water, just to make sure it didn't have any shrinkage after the fact. Put it in the dryer, dried it, hand ironed it, boom. And I actually ended up cutting, because it was so thin, double layers for every pant too. So that was really neat. And to do that efficiently, you can't see it, but let me grab it. I ended up, so I didn't have to measure how much yardage I needed. I ended up taking tape and marking it on my cutting table. So I placed it down on my cutting table, and then I just had a boundary of how wide I need to fold my fabric over and double. So that was quick. So instead of pulling out a yardstick every time to measure, I just put little markers on my table, and then I knew fold it over is double. Take the rotary cutter, zip, 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 cut it out super fast. I cut those things out fast, fast, fast. And after I had all my pieces, so I had my separate pieces for my actual satin fabric pants. That's all 4 pieces for those, remember? That's the whole pant. And then I had all 4 pieces for the lining. So we'll let these represent lining pants. And remember, to keep everything straight, I just pinned them separately until I decided to unite the pants with the flat line fabric. So tip number 2 is really simple. You want to be super efficient with your processes. Don't try to do one thing or complete one pair of pants, which I didn't, from start to finish. Not unless you wanted to test it to make sure everything worked out right at the end. Otherwise, I mean, I did that in muslin, so I wasn't worried about that. Otherwise, complete everything in stages, which is what I did. After I had my pants fabric cut out, all 4 pieces, my lining fabric cut out, all 4 pieces, I decided to unite them. Flat lining is when you add each piece for the fabric, fashion fabric, pant, and the lining, and you pin it together, and you actually have to sew them together as one fabric. So I had to do all that. So I took the time. My next stage was to assemble all the pieces. So now they were all pinned together. Literally, they were all pinned on each other. And then I did that for all 8. So I ended up, instead of with 32 pieces, I now had 16 consolidated pieces. And then I went to my sewing machine. I was using an industrial, which is step number 3. If you're going to sew and you need to sew fast, use something that sews fast. If I had to rely on my conventional sewing machine, I would be sewing right now still. It just would have took too long. So fortunately, my industrial was up running. Put it on there. Zzz, I mean, those things, the horsepower is insane. Sewed really fast. Attached all my, so I'll just give you a visual what that looks like. So remember, fashion fabric, lining fabric, you want to flip them, pretend they're cut out the same. So they're attached, which is flat lining, together as one piece. I did all those attachments, put them all together. Each pair of pants that was flat lined, so now I had 4 pieces, had a back and front to it. Pinned those back together, so now I kept all my pants separate so I didn't get any legs mixed up, and I didn't have to go run around trying to find which leg went to whichever, because believe it or not, it's a lack of organization that actually sucks up your time. So I had everything nice and neat, pinned, draped across the cutting table, and then once the lining and the outer fabric was sewn together, then I was ready to actually sew the pants together. So I just picked up each bundle, took them apart. I had 4 legs with both fashion fabric and lining fabric. I'm trying to say everything fast, which got me looking crazy. And then I just assembled. And then once I got that assembled, I went through all 8, got them all assembled. And then actually, and to back up before that, sorry, I forgot to mention, after they were flatlined, I had to get them all serged. So I had to serge around the edge. So I took those separate legs that were bundled together, and I actually didn't even unclip them. I kept them clipped because the top part didn't need serging since I was doing try-ons. So I kept everything bundled together, and I just ran it under my serger and sewed all around the sides, crotch for every bundle. Once all the bundles were done, then I decided it was time to sew and actually sew every piece together to actually form a pant. So I hope that wasn't confusing my explanation, but my point is, hopefully you saw that I intentionally did everything in steps. I did it very efficiently, and then I am in a small room here. So believe it or not, my sewing table is right behind the camera, right there. It's a few steps away. My iron is in arm's length from where I was on the other side of the table, and then my sewing machines, my serger is right there. So everything was together. Please don't underestimate time. I tend to be a little bit, I'm really good when it comes to time kind of thing, but that's just the way I am. If you're not that good at that, you want to really be mindful, because it's so easy to let time slip away. Now, I'm a procrastinator. I'm not saying I'm like, it's phenomenal, but I am really good with efficiency. If I have to do something and move fast, I like to cut down and streamline my time. So just want to give that kind of tip. It was really phenomenal because I actually did get done with those pants in time. Now, as I'll divulge on my blog post, I ended up sewing in my hotel, or I had a really nice hotel. I wish I could have just been watching HBO the whole time, but I ended up sewing there because I had to do a lot of hand finishing and stuff for the sample try-ons. But I did get the crux of all the main stuff done. I did it here. I did it extremely fast. And I was even quite amazed because of all the little shortcuts and steps that I took to make it happen. So anyway, before you start any big project, think it through. Get everything around you that needs to be organized. Already think about your strategy, and do everything in a streamlined flow of motion. Don't have yourself running around from here to there. Whatever needs to take place here, get it done. Get them done all in doubles, triples, or however many you're doing, and then move on to the next step. Because you'd be surprised, even with your brain, it takes more time to shift from one activity to another versus repetition. We all can do the same thing over and over and over. Think about it, if you're like dribbling the ball and then running down the court. If you're just asked to dribble, well, you get so accustomed to do that, you do it and you do it faster and faster and faster. But if you have to dribble, run, come back, dribble, run, come back, the change means your brain has to shift motion. And anyway, you see where I'm going with that. So anyway, just want to give you some pointers about how possible it is to be extremely time efficient when you have projects going on. We don't want to give an illusion that we're really, really great at everything, or that we have all the time in the world. That is, nothing's further from the truth. Right now, I need to go bathe the dog. I need to go clean out the guinea pig's cage. I need to go eat. I have a client order that needs to go. Anyhow, that concludes this segment. Nice spending some time with you. Don't forget to, of course, check us out for next week. We have some really cool shows coming up. I guess that's it. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Ms. Jim and I are both on that. I do Periscope videos, all that good stuff. Anyway, love seeing you guys around. Love to get your feedback. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next show. God bless you. Remember, use your talents to help someone else and bless someone else. Love you guys. Bye.